8.
My name's Pete Hegseth. I'm a fourth-generation Minnesotan, and I'm running to be your next United States Senator. There's a reason we got into this race a little bit late. I just got back from Afghanistan.
Democrat Senator Amy Klobuchar in the November election. The other, State Representative Dan Doc Severson from central Minnesota. Now, there had been some speculation that Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann or former Governor Tim Pawlenty would jump in, but that does not look like it is going to happen. And joining us this morning, fresh off his announcement on Thursday and traveling the state yesterday for county conventions, Captain Pete Hegseth. Good morning. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tom. Great to be here.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. You know, first things first, you're a young guy. We were talking in the break room, or in the green room, a wife, young child, and another one on the way. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A lot of people are going to say, you just got back from Afghanistan. Why do you want to run for the Senate? I mean, the job of running is huge.
Sure.
Why do you want to be a U.S. Senator?
Well, having been in war, you understand, A, that time is precious, and what we have is worth fighting for, not just over on the battlefield, but here at home. And Minnesotans know these are times of great consequence. They're difficult times for our country, and we really got a choice. We can choose a path of more government and more regulation like we have in Senator Klobuchar right now, or we can create the space where small business owners can step up and provide more jobs. And it's really understanding the proper role of government, that a limited government that unleashes the power of Minnesotans to provide more jobs and improve our economy is where we need to be headed, and that's why we're running.
Hey, we hear the jobs theme, obviously, what a lot of people are concerned about. We'll talk about the race against Senator Klobuchar in just a minute. But let's talk about your time in Afghanistan. How did that time form you? I mean, you mentioned it right off the top. I mean,
Sure.
time, you know, life is precious, time is short. But did that change, or did that spur you on to think, you know, this is something that I want to do? How did that affect you, Pete?
Sure it did, absolutely. You also see how much policy affects what things going on around the world, not just in Minnesota but over there. You know, we've got almost 100,000 troops we're drawing down there in Afghanistan, but you see how policies like setting a timeline for withdrawal, which the president did in Afghanistan, how much of an impact that has on our ability to execute the mission. There's a lot of meaning. Talk
about that. Do you agree with that? I mean, as a U.S. Senator, if you are elected, will you work to reverse that, or how does your expertise get to affect that?
I very much do not agree with it. Problem is the optic is already there. The perception is already there that we're going to leave in 2014. So Afghans and the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are making decisions based on a post-American future. You can't win a war when you tell the enemy when you're going to leave at the same time. So I think as a senator, I would bring a lot of understanding about foreign policy and how America should go about being successful overseas.
Yeah, and fresh off the battlefield, too, there's obviously no doubt that you know Veterans Affairs. As you're also a member of Vets for Freedom, how would you respond to those who are undoubtedly going to ask and say, you know, you haven't held any job in political office, you haven't had any legislative experience, now he wants to be a part of 100 senators. That's pretty rarefied air up there. What's your response that you have no record, that people could say, we don't know how this guy is going to vote?
Well, I think we've had a lot of, well, first of all, I've been a consistent conservative my entire life, but I think leadership matters. I think I've led men in battle.
As a captain?
As a captain, as a lieutenant and a captain. I've led a national nonprofit organization, so I understand how to move a message and make an argument. I think we've had a lot of politicians, though, that have had job after job after job, calculating position to the next position, and we've gotten where we are because of rank-and-file politicians. I think it's time for a new, fresh voice to take a clear look, a common sense look at the issues we're facing and say, where do we stand today and how do we get to clear, common sense solutions that Minnesotans want? And I think we can bring that to this race.
Yeah, and if you win the party's endorsement, you will take on Senator Klobuchar. She's coming up to the end of her 6 years. She's very popular. One poll has her at about 61% favorable. She doesn't make a lot of headlines when she does. Recently, it was about the bridge, and she was working with Congresswoman Bachmann last week. How would Senator Hegseth represent Minnesota differently, or in your case, obviously, in your opinion, in a better way? What specifically has she approved or done that you'd say this is just not Minnesota?
Sure, we would go at, she talks a lot about common sense solutions. Well, there's nothing common sense about an 800-page Obamacare health care bill that's still being figured out and written by regulators.
So that's on the top of your list?
That's on the top of the list, absolutely, but it's also the bailouts for corporations that she voted for. It's all the debt that has increased since she's been in office. So there are a lot of the corporate bailouts. These are things Minnesotans understand that they're not getting a bailout check, yet she's voting for those types of things. We're going to run on talking about her record. She has a record to defend at this point. We don't think all Minnesotans know that, and we're going to bring that to bear, in addition to providing proactive solutions why we believe what the proper role of government is and how we get the government off the backs of Minnesotans so that they can step up and and provide jobs and get better jobs.
One of the headlines, obviously, you're watching this. You just drove around almost the entire state yesterday. Gas prices. What can the Senate do? What would you do to try to bring those gas prices down? Or is this the new normal that some in Washington are talking about, $4 or more gas?
Well, I think we've got to look at all energy options available. A great example of that is the Keystone XL pipeline.
Kind of the Gingrich plan.
Sure, well,
explore them all.
You got to explore them all, but recently a litmus test on that was the Keystone XL pipeline, which the president blocked. Senator Klobuchar, big issue. We need energy resources. Gas prices are high. What's her position? No position. She hasn't and has been unwilling to take a position on whether or not we should be bringing in those natural resources. When big issues come at play, she isn't taking the tough stances we need to really do the types of things in these tough times. So we're looking to her to make a decision there. We're going to make those kinds of decisions, and it's going to be based on jobs and gas prices and bringing a better life to Minnesotans.
Well, we have obviously about 100 other things to talk about, Pete, but we are out of time. So, Pete Hegseth, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
For U.S. Senate, thank you for your service to our country. Welcome home. It's nice to have you back. I think your wife is probably awfully happy to have you back. Please come back to the show.
Will do.
We have an open invitation here. For more information on his campaign, just go to PeteForSenate.com. And just so everybody knows,